All right, I'm gonna name a few companies. Let me know if you know who they are. Intel, Google, Uber, Amazon, Asana, Box, Dropbox, LinkedIn, Facebook, Slack, Spotify, Tableau, and Microsoft. What's the one thing that all of these companies that I bet you know about, I know you know them, they're household names. What's the one thing that they all did? They used OKRs. OKRs, objectives and key results. It's a very specific system to help you accomplish and execute your company goals. Having used them at ToutApp, the thing that I learned is there's a right way to do OKRs and there's a wrong way to do them. If you are not careful, if you don't adapt them the right way, you can over-engineer them, and that might actually hurt you from executing on your goals. So in this video, having used OKRs at ToutApp, I love OKRs, I'm gonna walk you through the 7 steps, 7 simple steps, 5, 6, 7 steps that you can follow to actually implement OKRs in your company so you can accomplish your key goals and drive growth. Intro. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Unstoppable. I'm TK, and on this channel, I help SaaS founders like you accelerate your path to the next stage of growth with an unstoppable strategy. If you are new to the channel, welcome. It's really great to see you here. I drop a video like this 3 times a week to help you grow your SaaS business faster with actionable strategies and tactics. So be sure to hit that subscribe button and that bell icon so that you get notified when I drop a video with the TK energy. And if you are part of my SaaS go-to-market coaching program, where I give you a step-by-step framework to follow to grow your SaaS business faster, and I coach you through it, if you're part of that program, welcome back. It's really great to see you here. Also, if you're part of the community, also great to see you here. Now, in this video, I'm gonna walk you through OKRs, objectives and key results. It's a system that's been pioneered by Andy Grove at Intel, legendary operator. And then it was taken by Jim Dore. Jim Dore took it to Google and a whole bunch of other SaaS companies and also just tech companies across Silicon Valley and kind of popularized it. He recently wrote a book called Measure What Matters, and inside the book he goes a lot more into how OKRs work, stories on how OKRs actually brought change to organizations. So I'm going to be talking about OKRs. Now, I personally have used OKRs myself over at ToutApp from literally day one to when we sold the company. And it was really cool because the first set of OKRs I did was literally just me sitting in a room alone because I was a solo founder. I didn't really have a full team. And so I just did it myself. Then it grew into my core team. We were a 7-person company. We had $1 million ARR. So it was my core team sitting together and saying, okay, what's our objectives and key results for the year going to be? And we checked it every quarter. And then it grew into like an actual ritual. I would hold a strategy offsite with my executive team. Once we had a full executive team with a VP of engineering, VP of sales, chief revenue officer, VP of customer success, when we had all of that, we used to do these quarterly offsites where we would sit down and again, we would follow the OKR process. And what this allowed us to do was give us a structure to really take all the strategy work that we did, which I covered in a prior video. If you want to learn more on how to run a strategic offsite, you can check out this video. I'll link to it below. You don't have to go now. We took all of that strategy, and actually put it into an actionable framework so we can execute on it. Because the last thing you want is to do all these great ideas in a strategic offsite and then just forget about it and don't have a framework to follow up on it. And that's what OKRs gave us. And it's been incredibly powerful. And I learned the hard way that there are certain quarters where I over-indexed on OKRs and it was too complicated and hard to track and hard to actually execute on. And there are certain quarters where we nailed it and certain quarters where we were too vague. So having used it for several years, I'm going to walk you through the 7 steps to follow so that you can actually implement OKRs in your company and use it to drive growth and execute on your strategy. So if you're excited to dig in, go ahead and smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm. And let's go into step number 1. So step number 1 when it comes to OKRs is the what. That's your objective. That's what essentially the O stands for. It's your objective. Now, sometimes people make the mistake and think that their objective is their why. And that's a mistake. That's very different. So your mission, your vision, your why for the company, all of that comes before OKRs. Like you should absolutely create a vision on like what exactly you exist for and what the mission of your company is. And you should write it out and you should make sure you socialize it. But that has nothing to do with OKRs. OKRs are about, okay, we've got our vision, our North Star, why we exist, all that stuff. Got it, great. put it up on a wall somewhere. But we now have our objective for the company. And OKRs work best when it's for a certain period of time. So let's just say in this scenario, for the coming year, you're going to say for the next 12 months, for say 2021 is coming up, and you may be watching this video while it's 2021 right now, or it's past 2021, but let's just say for the next full year, you can just say that's what we're going to be focused on. So step one is really focusing on the what, which is your objective. Now, when it comes to objectives, what you want to do is not have more than one or two max. And the reason for this is, generally speaking, organizations can only have so much bandwidth to execute on things, right? They have the normal jobs, and a lot of times objectives and key results cover the normal jobs, but also have them push a little bit. So what's important on objectives is that you only have one or two max. So the way I always look at it, by the time I really perfected my version of OKRs, was I always had one main objective, and then I had a secondary objective. If you say you're a seed stage company and you have some revenues and you're looking to get to that next stage, you're looking to actually drive growth, my main objective could be I want to triple revenues, right? That could be our objective. We know that if we triple revenues, then we get closer to that million ARR mark or past that. We know that we're getting real validation on product market fit. We know that we're going to get closer to the next stage of growth, the next stage of funding. So that would be my one main objective for, say, next year. If we've got some revenues, how do we triple revenues? If we triple revenues, and by the way, objectives that you set should not be tied to any sort of comp. This is something that John Doerr talks about as he explains OKRs. This is something that all the companies that implemented it properly say. Why? The reason for that is you want to make sure the objectives that you guys set are stretch objectives, meaning you're going to push yourself to go hit it. This is not something that's a slam dunk. It's not a given. It's not obvious. You're going to have to figure out ways to actually make this work. You're going to have to stretch it. If you reach your objectives 100% of the time and the key is 100% of the time, that means you're not pushing the organization enough, which is why you want to make sure people aren't sandbagging. They're not being conservatives because their comp is tied to it. You want to say, look, your comp is covered for. Let's talk about how we really push hard. And it's for us and it's for the good of the company, right? That's where OKRs really come from. So you want to create that environment where people are pushing themselves. So I'm going to say triple revenues. And my secondary objective would be raise Series A, right? So I'm going to triple revenues and raise Series A. That's my next goal. And this was real. For ToutOut, we did our seed round with some revenues, and that 1 year we actually tripled our revenues. We got our self-service and direct business going, and we raised our Series A. So that this is a real thing that we went after. So that's step one. Step two is you want to start thinking about key results. So objectives are the what, and key results are the how, right? And by the way, not the why. So key difference here. So once you have the what, we want to triple revenues, we want to raise Series A, then you get into the key results. That's the KR over here. The KR, key results, are, and you should only have 1 to 3, don't have a lot more. I'll be honest. At one point, we got into 5 objectives and 6 key results for each because I had more people in the team. Complete mistake. People don't have bandwidth. You want to force yourself to 1 main objective, 1 secondary, and 3 key results for each of them. That's what I recommend, especially in the early stages. And key results are the things of, if you hit that objective, if this became true, if we truly triple revenues, what does that mean? What are some, and they always have to be specific, they have to be numeric key results. What would be true about your world if you hit that objective? Meaning, if you have this result, that means this objective becomes true, right? So the way I like to do this, if I'm going to triple revenue, there's certain things that I really want to put into place. By the way, I need to order some new Sharpies, so I have to remind myself of that. You want to have 2 to 3 key results. They have to be specific. They have to be measurable. So what I would do, this is something to consider, and you can always play around with what works for you. Is let's just say my first key result is going to be I want to do $1 million in new business. So that's literally not some sort of weird cross-sell, upsell where I sell, I want to get $1 million of new business over the next year. That's what we want to do. And that's a key result. Now, when you look at your key result, you should feel a little bit of a pit in your stomach, your whole team. You should look at it, you should be like, oh man, How are we going to do that? If you're doing that, that means you're doing it right. Now, if you're doing that and you're saying like that is impossible, then you're doing it wrong. What you want to do is you want to think of the number that feels achievable, and you're like, oh, we can totally do that. 100K, we can 200, we can totally do that. Million, oh man, it's possible, but we'd have to rethink a few things. That's a good key result. That forces your thinking to think bigger, but it's still feasible. You're not like, this is never going to happen. You know what I mean? So getting the right number is super important. Getting to that stretch feeling is super important. You do that in your key results. So let's just say I want to do $1 million in new business. We're a SaaS business. So I also want to make sure I have 110% of DRR or NRR, which is net revenue retention, meaning customers, even if we have some churn, which is normal, the customers that stay end up spending more with us. So our existing customers are going to find a way to grow as well. That's a good result. If you want to dig more into why net revenue retention is important, check out this video. I'll link to it below. You don't have to go right now. The third thing I would do is, you know what, I've got 2 revenue. This is like new business. This is retaining the current business. And I would also say, feature X released. Every year, like you want 1 or 2 game-changing features that really enhances the core product loop or expands into more part of your user's workday or completely changes the game on how the industry works. So I would include something that covers the roadmap as well as one of the key results. And I know if I do $1 million in new business, 110% DRR and NRR, and this key feature release, then I stand a good chance of really propelling the company forward, the brand forward, and hit the goal objective of triple revenue. Same goes for raising Series A, right? And this one, like, you have to be qualitative about this. More numbers, the better. So I would say I need a world-class pitch deck and model. I'd have to do that in order to raise the Series A. And I would need warm intros, 10 of them, by our angels. And I would want to raise 10 million Series A, right? So that's something you could like put in. So you're starting to get the feeling. So that's step 2, key results. Step 1 is objective. What do you want? Step 2 is how are you going to get there? And if you have these things, that means that you're going to get this. So that's step 2. Step 3, next part, is it can be really easy to say, we're going to do all these things. But how do you actually make sure that you actually do them, right? This is where this part comes in. Every key result should have one responsible party. This is something I learned at Bridgewater. Responsible party is the one, and they used to call it the single throat to choke. Meaning, if this doesn't happen, there's one person responsible. They are responsible for making sure this gets mobilized and carried up on and followed up on, and they commit to it. There's a social contract to say, yes, my team, or I'm the person that's going to make sure all the teams come together to make this happen. And so you need to have an actual responsible party. So for example, for the new business, it'll be the VP of sales maybe, or the CRO. For this, it'll be the CS person. For this, it'll be the CTO. You start to get the picture. And over here, it's probably CEO, and CEO, right? So you start to get the picture. What you want to do is make sure you actually have a key responsible party and a team that's going to support that responsible party. If that responsible party doesn't have a team or doesn't have resources, doesn't have influence, then nothing's going to happen. So you want to make sure you tie this to like, okay, who's going to do this? Who is going to raise their hand and say, I'm going to be responsible for this? And John Doerr talks about this. The reason OKRs work is because you're stretching, but they also work not because of comp. Comp is not the thing, but because there's a social contract saying, we're going to go do this. I'm going to take responsibility for it. And you want your core team members, whether it's executive team members or your core team if you're smaller, to actually take ownership around this, and that's super important. Now, once you do those things, there's a step 4. So I'm going to do some index cards to walk you through the rest of the steps. Step 4 is the responsible party and the team need to get together and they need to create their own team level OKRs. So this whole process, this is your company level OKRs, but OKRs repeat this. For each key result that they own, they're going to have 1 to 2 objectives and create 3 key results so they can operate within the purview of their team. So they need to do that. It kind of trickles down. They need to create a project plan to say, how is this going to come together quarter after quarter, month after month for the year? Don't just say it's going to magically come together. You want to have deliverables every month, every week. You want to report on it. And essentially you want them to come back and pledge saying, yep, we're going to go do this, and essentially establish that social contract. And if they don't hit it, then they're going to let the rest of the team down. So they want to establish a social contract, and they're going to say, look, this is for the greater good of the objective, so everyone else should rally around it as well. but the team should do those 3 things. So that's step number 4. Now, before I go to step number 5, let me just pause here for a second. If you're starting to see the power in the OKR framework and how amazing it is to take strategy and actually make sure you execute, can I just get a yes in the comments below? Also, if you are growing your SaaS business, if you're looking to figure out how to actually build a scalable go-to-market machine so that you can actually accomplish your revenue goals, be sure to check out my 5-point startup growth strategy guide. A link to it below. I'll tell you more about it at the end of this video, but let's go to step number 5. All right, step 5. Step 5 is you want to actually make sure that there's some time spent on thinking about resourcing. So if you have this key result and the responsible party looks at the plan, works with the team, make sure they have the right resources and it's actually doable. You want to make sure there's alignment. Share it with the company, socialize it, and say, this is what we're doing, here's what's going to be needed. Make sure everyone has buy-in. And the last piece is like essentially get that buy-in. So if they have dependencies from other teams, they're going to need it. The responsible party should say, hey, I need this. Are you like in? Then I'll do the social contract. So you want to make sure and do a gut check that this all makes sense. And there's a little bit of a back and forth here, a little bit of negotiating here, because you want the responsible party to go back to their team and look at the objectives and say, does this make sense? Can we do this? And then come back and say, yep, we can do it. Or say like, no, we're gonna have to like let go of certain things. If we wanna do this, does this make sense? And this is where the magic happens, because you're actually forcing yourself to make decisions on what's important and what's not, versus trying to do everything, which is where you'll end up dying, essentially. And then step 6 is you actually want to make sure that there's sufficient bandwidth. The goals are truly stretch goals. And what that means is like you're going to Mars. So let me explain this. Bandwidth is something I talked about. You want to just make sure that they're not overcommitting. Like this is what true leadership is. This is what true management is. You want to look at them and say like, are you really stretching? Are you going to have the resources? Or are we pushing too hard? Are we doing too many things? Are we doing the right things? This is something that OKRs aren't going to magically solve for you, but they'll help you actually execute, but you got to do the leadership part and say, look, let's just make sure we have bandwidth. Let's just make sure this is truly a stretch goal. Is a triple truly a stretch goal or an impossible goal or a reasonable goal? Let's just make sure that we're going for Mars. And this is something that I think Larry Page is the one that said it. Like, look, I want my teams at least going for Mars, because if I know they're going for Mars, they'll at least land on the moon, and moon's a great place to land. So this is part of the step 6, which is do the gut check. Even if it takes a moment, takes an extra 5 minutes, but for the year, do the gut check. This is what true leadership is, and really make sure that you guys are all aligned. And then finally, number 7, don't just forget about it. The biggest mistake that people make with OKRs is they forget about it. You want to make sure that you do weekly status meetings. So for each of these projects that are running around these OKRs, every week you should do a red, yellow, green on these OKRs. You should figure out, are we hitting this key result? Are we on track? Are we on track? If we're not on track on this, what do we do? How do we course correct? What do we change? Don't be afraid to course correct if needed, but make sure you consistently look at these weekly status meetings. And actually, one more thing, also consider doing daily check-ins by employees so that they constantly see the OKRs. Now, if you guys are looking for a platform that helps you do this, by the way, small plug here, we have a member that's part of my Unstoppable Go-to-Market coaching program. Incredible platform, incredible leader. So Scott is a member of the platform. He runs a company called Result Maps. Result Maps helps you establish your OKRs, your goals, and actually make sure your company does weekly meetings and check-ins so that everything ties together. So you can go to resultmaps.com and check that out. I'll also link to it below so you can learn more about it. So that wraps up OKRs. Incredible tool to ensure that you drive success and you are actually successful in executing on your goals. So step 1, what are your 2 objectives? Step 2, the how, which is what are your 3 key results for each of these objectives. Step 3, make sure there's a responsible party. Step 4, make sure the responsible party in the team figures out at the team level what their OKRs are going to be, what their project plan is going to be, and they actually do the social contract. Number 5, make sure you do the resourcing question, the alignment question, the buy-in. Make sure you socialize this with the company and everyone's bought in to these OKRs. And then double check, do what a leader does. Make sure that you're pushing yourselves enough, but not pushing yourselves too much. You're aiming for Mars, you'll at least end up in the moon. That's super important. And then number 7, actually do weekly check-ins and daily check-ins so that it all ties together. If you got value from this video, be sure to smash that like button. If you have a fellow SaaS founder that would get value from this, please share this video with them. It would mean the world to us. If you haven't subscribed yet, I drop a video like this 3 times a week with this much value and energy. So be sure to subscribe button and that bell icon so you're notified every single time I drop a video. And lastly, if you are growing a SaaS business and you want to create a growth strategy, be sure to get unstoppable.com/strategy to download our 5-point SaaS growth strategy guide. Super powerful, completely free. And lastly, remember, everyone needs a strategy for their life and their business, but when you are with us, yours is going to be unstoppable. I'm TK, and I'll see you in the next episode.